Welcome to a live shot. That means live. That means we're going to talk about the Pirates firing Derek Shelton today. We're going to talk about Ben Cherington not being fired today. And we're going to talk about what Cherington, who was allowed to speak on this subject, had to say about it over there at PNC Park. Joined by Jose Negron and Greg McAfee. As you can see, they're standing right out there atop the Pirates dugout. And what was the vibe in there, guys? I saw what Cherington had to say. I'm way more interested in how tense it was.
I mean, it seemed pretty tense, DK. I mean, he spoke for about 23 minutes this afternoon, addressed a bunch of topics such as, Derek Shelton getting fired, their shortcomings this year, Don Kelly being named the manager for the rest of the 2025 season. But it's obviously a somber move. They know they've underperformed throughout the first 38 games of this season, and they are trying to figure out a way to kind of get out of the hole they're currently in.
Jose, when you've covered Ben for a couple of years now, did he look nervous, upset, uptight, anything? Not getting anything here. No, take the earbuds out, Jose. Yeah, go into the microphone. Try that. No, not getting it. I can hear you, but you're going through your earbuds, I think, instead of the microphone. Go ahead, Jose. No. Let's go back to Greg here, because since that seemed to be working. I think the earbuds were what threw it off there. Denny asks here, did Derek Shelton really need to go? Probably. Did the boat stop leaking? No, it just has another hole in it. I've made my stance clear on Shelton and his work and everything else here. Greg, what percentage of the problem was he?
I mean, I think he was a big part of the problem. I mean, you see the daily product on the field, from the defensive miscues to the base running errors to the team not being able to hit. I mean, it only can go so far. And, Ben Cherington admitted today that it's not all on Shelty, but I think the product on the field speaks a lot for, the part he played in the lack of winning so far earlier this season.
Yeah, Toddy is correct here that Cherington's sabotaging the show. He's up there cutting some wires and whatever. He doesn't want to have Jose blister the team here. For me, when I look at what Shelton did in his 5+ years, he did work. I mean, I don't think anybody would doubt that. He put everything that he had into it. It was the opportunity of a lifetime. And I don't think too many people would argue with me in saying that this is a really good guy. And at the same time, that he didn't do his job very well, because when you think about what managerial jobs are, even more so than lineups and when do you pull the relief pitcher and stuff like that ends up drawing most of the attention, it's fundamentals. And there's nowhere to go with this team and where the fundamentals were.
Yeah, I mean, they've talked throughout the beginning of the season about winning in the margins. It's something that they've preached since, back in Pirates Fest in January. And it's something they haven't really done. They've done it at times throughout the course of this season, but you've seen the mistakes come up again, time and time again, in close games and blowouts. I mean, we look back to the LA Dodgers series where they were tied 4-4 in the bottom of the 8th inning, and Derek Shelton goes Colin Holderman out of the pen, who had just returned from the IL, and he leaves a 0-1-1-0 pitch right in the middle of the zone for a tie-breaking home run. I mean, you look at those type of situations throughout the course of the beginning of the season, and those are the things that kind of fall on Shelty at this point of the year.
Let's see if we can hear Jose now.
Can you hear me?
No.
This might actually happen here, because Greg's giving him, I'm doing play-by-play here, Greg's giving him like golf claps. Greg's giving him his thing. If not, we're just going to go with Greg on this, because why not, right? All right, how does that sound? Okay, I can hear you guys. I hear some wind. Go ahead, Jose. No. Okay, we're still trying to get them on here. Robert Sham says, just had a brain adjustment. Do you all realize that there's a parallel Earth that exists on some different plane, which the Pirates are awesome and win all the time? The Steelers have 25 Super Bowls. You got cut off there. I don't even know where you were going with any of that nonsense. Roberts digging himself. Oh, here, and then the Penguins win all the cups. Yeah, there's also that. Dead Sea Monster he says, just look at the Pirates roster and tell me where the problem is. This isn't all that complicated. Okay, it's a bad roster. It's a bad roster. And the roster is 100% the domain of the general manager. And I have a feeling that the reason that the manager gets a lot of the flack is because the manager's the guy that you see on TV 10, 15, 20 times a game. And he's the guy that the camera turns to after Colin Holderman gives up that big home run. And you go, it's that guy. Well, but they never turn the camera on the GM. Do they? No. So he's not the bad guy. Blind Squirrel, who's speaking here like a blind squirrel, says Cherington is the bigger problem than Shelton. Yes, you have found your acorn, Blind Squirrel. Jose, say something, Jose. No, we're just going to go with Greg here for the rest of this. Sorry, Jose. I don't know what's. Oh, there you are.
I just want to be heard.
Go ahead.
It's great to be here. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy that you can actually hear me for once.
Let's go with Ryan Lytle says, when one of your bigger signings is a washed up outfielder with a bad attitude, we're talking about Tommy Pham, of course, you have your answer. Tommy Pham, 1 year, $4 million. He's barely batting half of his weight. Do not let them, or Cherington specifically, off the hook for the terrible to date trade of Luis Ortiz to Cleveland for Spencer Horwitz, who is currently batting about like 0.50 in his minor league rehab stint. This is really bad. I don't know if this is getting enough attention either, but Luis is a regular part of a good Cleveland rotation right now, and
yep.
And Ortiz, on top of everything else, good citizen. Jose, you covered him last year. How do you just give him away for a low-power, platoon-hitting first baseman? And, oh, by the way, with a chronic wrist issue.
He was one of the best guys in that clubhouse last year. And I think I wrote the day before the trade happened, going into the winter meetings, about how I thought it would have been a wise decision to keep Luis Ortiz around. I mean, there was a lot of conversation. There were rumors about, maybe they'll shop a guy like Bailey Falter, maybe they'll shop Luis Ortiz to try and get a bat. And then it happened, and you're kind of second guessing it. This is a guy who figured things out last year. This is a guy who's really valuable in multiple roles. I think that's the big key is, doesn't matter what type of role you put him in, he was productive. And, that trade has looked miserable as of right now. And, you thought you were getting a bat that maybe could help you coming into this season. And,
Can't
now
help the curve.
Well, yeah, you can't help the curve right now. But you thought that you were getting something that could at least, be, a plus towards this lineup, and, a lineup that has just failed absolutely miserably through the first 38 games of the season.
Stella Fierce comes in and she says, sometimes the Steelers make me mad. Pirates make me sad. I cried over a movie, Stovetop League, about a good baseball GM. You should cry at any reference to a good baseball GM, Stella. This is not one that you want to shy away from. This is one of those, you want to be like my wife whenever she's watching these like 3:00 in the morning films all by herself, and they're just these tear jerkers just flowing, and you walk into the room. That should be you, Stella, every time somebody mentions having a good GM in Pittsburgh. That's how bad that situation is. Brendan Brown says, is there any chance that Ben Cherington comes back next season? Sure there is. Why wouldn't there be? What's the problem, Brendan? What's the problem? They're only 12 and 26. It's only year 6. Brendan says, my bet is that he'll resign in August. Greg, what are the odds of Ben Cherington resigning, of admitting to everybody that he and his analytics and everything else were just flat out wrong? Can you hear me, Greg? You're going to use the other one there. There you go.
There we go. All right, say that again. Sorry.
What are the odds of Ben Cherington admitting that he was wrong and just flat out resigning in August? You know, that his analytics were wrong and everything, that he's out of there. Did he look like he was even remotely contrite to you today?
Yeah, he did. I mean, I asked him about the whole accountable together with him and Shelton that he talked about at the end of last season, and he said I'm accountable. I'm still accountable, sitting in the spot, but he's you can tell
He can say anything.
Yeah, no, for real. I would never see him stepping down by himself. I think at this point he would have to be fired before he leaves Pittsburgh.
You know, here, Robert is the one who nails this. He says Cherington doesn't think he's wrong, though. Okay,
100%.
That's contrition.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's actually saying, listen, this trade that I made, the one that brought over the defective first baseman that nobody's seen yet, okay, that's a bad trade. I need to be better than that. That's actual contrition. Standing in front of everybody and saying, it starts with me. Shut up. You know, I mean, what the hell is that? I mean, who thinks that anybody falls for that stuff? Real contrition is going through a list of the mistakes you've made and sitting there and saying, okay, or how about just going through the lineups, the 3 lineups that Jose just covered out in St. Louis for us? How about doing that? Let's talk about Alexander Canario in the 5-hole. Let's do that. In fact, let's get Jose on, and we're going to ask him.
I think it's this one.
We're going to ask him about, and after this, let's just pick one of you to go with, so we don't keep doing this back and forth thing. Jose, when they passed up in the Busch Stadium press box, when you were up there for us the other day, and they passed around that lineup, and you saw Canario in the 5-hole, what are you thinking?
Oh, what am I thinking?
What are you thinking?
I'm thinking it's a disaster waiting to happen. I mean, this is a guy who is hitting 122 right now. I mean, I think his slugging percentage is lower than his on base percentage.
Which isn't easy to do.
It's not easy to do. And you know, the reasoning, you know, I remember, a couple of weeks ago, there was a situation where, Derek Shelton decided to pinch hit Alexander Canario for Jack Sawinski instead of multiple options, including Andrew McCutchen, including Joey Bart, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. And his reasoning was Alexander Canario's ability to hit the ball out of the ballpark. And at that point, Canario is maybe 2 for 20 as a Pirate. He hit 1 home run in Cincinnati, one that I believe barely got out. And that's what he wanted in that situation, rather than, have any of the 3 other guys who can get you a base hit potentially in a big situation, or have the chance to hit the ball out of the ballpark as much as Alexander Canario was. So, just having a guy like that in the middle of your lineup, that just kind of, I feel like that sums up all of the issues that this offense is kind of going through.
Jose, appreciate you. Let's give the microphone over to Greg for good here, so we don't have to keep doing this weird back and forth. Thanks, man.
Appreciate it, guys.
All right, we're gonna stick with you here, Greg, the rest of the way.
All right.
Just to avoid the awkwardness here. I hope your earbuds are not working, because the way I'm about to react to this question. Ryan Driscoll says, why not go young for the rest of the season? Ryan, they can't. They don't have anybody. This is the dirty little secret. Okay. A valued member of our staff that I've yet to introduce to the public, so I'm going to keep his name to me for now, did some research earlier this week that showed that in the minor league system, of the Pirates' top 30 prospects, 14 of them are hitters, which is hilarious unto itself. Of those 14, 3 of them have an OPS of 800 or higher. That's it. 3. Mm-hmm. And all 3 of them, one of them is Connor Griffin, are in A-ball. That's what you have right now. And that's what people don't know. That's why you come to this channel instead of just tuning in the radio and hearing everybody go nutting payroll. They've spent $96 million on amateur talent over the last 5 years. And that's what you've got in the minor leagues. And that guy is still employed.
Yeah, I mean, you look at their AAA roster, and a lot of people are pining for like a Billy Cook or a Nick York, who both came over at the trade deadline last year, and they're not doing much. I mean,
Nope.
it wouldn't be too much of an improvement on what they have here right now. And so, at what point do you say, all right, let's ride with the team that we have here currently, rather than going to a couple of AAAers who may not be able to hack it at the major league level at this point?
Yeah, Berg Boy says Cherington is the definition of a narcissist. I don't know that he is or isn't, and I'm not really into psychoanalyzing the guy or whatever. What I know is that he's supposed to have a good baseball team, and he doesn't. He's supposed to have a good baseball system after trading away all those veterans, and he doesn't. He's supposed to have a methodology for development and instruction and growing these players and making them better, his favorite phrase, but he doesn't. There's nothing that has to be personal about this. And I know, speaking for myself, it's not anything personal. I've never had a bad encounter with a guy, not once.
Yeah.
It's about the results. It's about professional on-field results.
Yes.
And at this point, it should be about Pittsburgh. So what are you doing? You know what else nobody ever talks about? Why don't they go young? Do you ever look at when you do these lineups, Greg, the ages of these guys that are out there in the starting nine every day? This is not a young team at all.
No, it's not. When you look at guys like Tommy Pham and Adam Frazier, who have been in the lineup consistently, you look at Brian Reynolds, you look at, Joey Bart. I mean, Matt Gorski, he just got called up, and he's, I think, 27, 28 years old and has been in the minor leagues for most of his career. I mean, this isn't a horribly young team outside of a few different players. So it's not an excuse. I mean, they have veteran players in this lineup, Kutch, Brian Reynolds, and they just haven't been producing. I mean, Ben Cherington touched on it multiple times today that they need to score more runs. It's not about winning in the margins. It's about, well, that has played a role in it. It's about scoring more runs and improving the offense.
How do you sit there and say that, though, when you didn't do anything toward that end?
Exactly.
Okay, I like his answer about why didn't he go and get a corner outfielder was essentially, I tried. It was 2 words.
Yeah.
I tried.
And I don't know if you caught this, DK, as well, but he was asked about the moves he made in the offseason to kind of try to improve the roster.
That's what I'm talking about.
And he didn't admit to any wrongdoing. He kind of just walked through every move that he made, not admitting to how it hasn't worked, but how it could work in the future and how he thought it was going to work.
But that's part of his dynamic that he has with his analytics people is they keep coming back to him and they say, well, listen, so-and-so is underperforming at the moment, and his batting average on balls in play is actually 250, and it should be at 300. So we need to get this guy back to the 300 BABIP level, and everything's going to be just fine. What they don't take into account, and this part blows my mind after 5+ years of this crap, what they don't take into account is that some players just come here, get worse, and never get good again. Yeah. Okay, that doesn't seem to ever enter the equation.
Yeah, you look at Tommy Pham. I mean, he's a guy that's kind of bounced around through all the a bunch of major league teams, and he's here hitting 178, 180, something like that. And they tried to give him a couple reset in the past week or so, and that hasn't played out. And you just see guys not performing to the level that they need to, and
Denny says no context to the analytics. That's correct. Analytics can be twisted any way you want them to, depending on how they're framed. It's true of all math, by the way.
Yeah, as long as you can present the numbers in any way you find them, and to portray your story and to portray your thoughts. And that's what we have here.
We're going to take a couple of questions from you guys here, and then I'm going to call it a day here for the live video thing. Tyler Falstick says, this year I got into college baseball. I'll take West Virginia. They have a nice program down there, by the way.
Yeah, they do.
Over the Pirates this season. I respect that, Tyler. I never tell people who to cheer for, who to root for. But this situation right now, you have dead man walking at GM.
Yeah.
Okay. And you have dead man walking entering a draft, and you have dead man walking entering a trade deadline. And by the way, you have dead man walking overseeing dead team walking. Wow. What isn't there to like?
There's not a lot, man. There's not a lot, DK.
Matt says, Matt's really punching away at the keyboard over there, says Altoona's team average, on base percentage, and slugging are all in the bottom 8 of AA teams. Indy's team average, Matt says, on base percentage and slugging are all in the bottom 10 of AAA teams. But keep this guy. He's good. Because if the Pirates, the main Pirates, the ones who are supposed to count, the ones in Pittsburgh, were even in that discussion, bottom 10 as opposed to bottom 3, none of this might be coming up.
Yeah. I mean, it's we've talked about it multiple times already. When you don't have anything at the minor league levels, what is there to bring up? What is there to fix when trying to bring these guys up? I mean, I think we've seen Peggy twice since he's been called up. So
Leo Verpagero was called up just to be a funny guy in the clubhouse, which he is, he is, but they don't use him, and that one is going to be more of a Shelton thing. I think here. Dead Sea Monster gets us close to wrapping up here. Says, call Dave Littlefield. He's a scout now. I believe he's still with the Cubs. He traded an aging Brian Giles. Giles wasn't aging at that time. For Jason Bay and Oliver Perez, who were both younger. He also brought in Freddie Sanchez, Adam LaRoche. Don't forget, with Littlefield's case, he also drafted Andrew McCutchen. He drafted Steve Pierce. I mean, Littlefield versus this guy is no mas. I mean, it's not even close. Okay. Who has Cherington brought in? Nobody. No, really, no. Joey Bart.
Yeah, Joey Bart's probably.
Unless you want to give him credit for Paul Skeens, you can do that. That's up to an individual how they see that. I see that as anybody in their right mind. All 30 of the general managers would have done that. Denny says Cherington thinks he discovered Paul Skeens. Oh, that's not what he said on that podcast a week ago.
Nope.
You know, I mean, that's not what he said, that his analytics people talked him into Skeens.
Yeah, he said for the longest they were coveting a hitter in that draft, and if he was asked back in March or April who they would take with the number 1 overall pick, he said he wasn't sure, but that it would probably be a hitter. And as the season carried on, the analytics started projecting Paul Skeens as the number 1 pick. And the one thing that stuck out to me was he kept having to ask himself and ask his team, is this actually right? Could this be right? And it became obvious that they needed to take him.
Sean says that he resigned. He re-signed Andrew McCutchen. At least he did not. Bob Nutting did that. And I'm not guessing at that. They have both told me that. Nutting told me that. Kutch told me that. And actually, they were standing right next to each other. This was down in Bradenton when they told me that. Cherington was instructed by Nutting to negotiate what would be considered a fair contract. But it's Nutting that wanted to ensure that Kutch would finish his career in Pittsburgh. And that's the way that's going to be. Cherington has nothing whatsoever to do with Kutch being here. Nothing, actually. William says, imagine admitting that you had to be talked into Paul Skeens. Yeah. So, all right, guys. Hey, appreciate having you on. Wanted to give everybody one last chance. Appreciate having everybody in. I see we have more than 1,000 people in at the moment. Appreciate you being with us, Greg. The busy day for everybody here. And we'll talk to you when they fire the GM. Bye.
See you later, guys.